Have you ever been driving down an old country road like this one right here beside me and came across an old house that looked so amazing and incredible, and you just desperately wanted to investigate, learn more about it, take a tour of it? Well, today, do I have something for you. Look at this beautiful house behind us. We're getting ready to go inside there right now. Let's go.
Right here is the brick. It's clay bricks, handmade and kiln fired. And if you notice,
That's the date,
1840.
1840.
And an H for Hamilton.
Wow.
If you notice, I always thought it was paint. Apparently, according to the historic reconstruction consultant, it's a stain that they put on the bricks. In the kiln, the ones that were closest to the fire came out a different color from the others, and they didn't like that. They wanted them to be all the same color. So they stained them, and you can see the lines here are drawn in.
Oh, the mortar lines are drawn in. I don't think I've ever seen that before. Huh. I love the stones over the windows, the lintels, those are called.
Lintels, yes. And those are hand-cut sandstone. And there's actually, there's this big piece of sandstone here. Did you notice the mounting style as you came by?
Sandstone. Was it mined locally or quarried locally?
We think so. Someone has mentioned the Rennick Valley, but I don't really know exactly where, but we believe it was mined locally. And even the basement steps are made of the chiseled sandstone.
That's a massive piece.
Isn't it, though?
It makes you wonder how in the world they moved it here.
I would assume they had to use oxen or something, but I can't imagine how they could do those things back then.
The weight of it, wow.
Yes.
And so the bricks were made right here, did they? In the creek, was there a bed of clay or something?
I do not know about that, but we believe that typically the bricks were made on site. Mm-hmm. We think that there's a good possibility that the bricklayer who did the Blue Sulphur Springs, those columns are brick, and then they're covered over. But that's like 1838, I think, and this was 1840, so we think there's a good possibility that it was the same brick mason.
And so there used to be a big hotel right over there too, right?
Yes.
Okay, and that got burned down?
It was burned during the war, the Union soldiers. It was used, the resort was used. It was actually a larger resort possibly than the Greenbrier or like that back then. A lot of people came for the healing properties of the water, and of course it was cooler here than down south in the summertime. That was, my grandfather owned the spring and all of that at the time of his death too. It went to an aunt, and of course, just like with this house, she could not afford to restore it. So at a certain point in time, she donated it to the Historical Society in the hopes that someone could. It took 10 years, lots of fundraising, lots of studies, archaeological studies, and a lot involved, but we finally made it, and look at it now.
All right, well, we're going to go on in now. Here, I'll hold it, let you kind of lead the way.
Okay. This would have been the parlor, the room that the kids were not allowed in, for the most part. No playing and carrying on in here.
So people only came when they had probably visitors or Sundays you would come in here?
Probably so, yes.
Wow, what great light, all these windows.
Yes.
What about the colors? Do you think the colors are original?
I'm sure they're not. It's been painted numerous times through the years, but for some reason this green seemed to be a favorite. I'm not sure why, because, yeah. But the house I grew up in, they painted green a lot too, and the rails and the columns out there were like a dark green.
What do you remember about furniture that your grandparents had in here?
My grandparents had this weird scratchy fabric pink chair and sofa in here.
It's funny as a kid, the things, and you remember sensations like scratchy.
Yes, and probably the reason that I remember that is because then my grandmother eventually moved to Alderson after my grandfather's death, and that was the furniture that she used in her house then. And some of the woodwork has been refinished. You can see this part's been stripped, the door, but
Old oak door? Or is that
well,
pine?
that's what
pine.
I thought was, we assumed oak, but the historic reconstruction consultant says chestnut.
Well, chestnut was before the blight was the most common building material in the Appalachians because it was the predominant tree by far.
So it makes sense that that might have been it. And another thing that we don't know the answer to, Major Hamilton came to Blue Sulphur, 1773, and built a log house, supposedly. We do not know exactly where that log house was located, but there's a part of me that wonders if perhaps it was here, and then they enclosed it and added to it. The reason that I wonder that is because of the width of the door facing.
Wow.
And if you notice, on this side of the house, they're wide. On that side of the house, they're not.
That is
So
strange.
it makes me wonder if this was an exterior wall at some point. We don't know, but,
Right.
and I'm not tearing into this horsehair plaster to find out. Of course, this was the living room when my grandparents lived here.
Was there any ever wakes held in here?
I don't know. I would imagine probably so, but I
Because that
don't
was very common to have it at the house.
Yes, it was. Of course, they used fireplaces at one point in time. There's a fireplace in every room. That is not efficient heat. So at some point, they went to wood stoves, which worked a lot better. But there's no heating system here. All we have are the wood stoves.
When did your grandfather, what year did he acquire it? Did he buy it from a Hamilton descendant or?
He bought it from, by that time it was owned by, let's see, it was Hamiltons that built it, and then Andrew Johnston purchased it in 1855. Now, Andrew Johnston owned it at the time that Traveler was foaled. And Traveler was foaled in 1857, and then he won awards at the Lewisburg Fair, Lewisburg, Virginia, at that point in time, in 1858, 59, and 60. And of course, then went on to be.
Didn't General Lee buy him at was it a sale or something?
No, he saw this gentleman riding, Traveler, and fell in love with him and asked if he could buy him, and he told him that he would give him to him, but he said no, and he insisted on paying him, I'm thinking $200 maybe. He insisted on paying for the horse.
Now, is that barn, how original is that barn out there?
I don't know exactly. When I was a child, what we assumed was the Traveler barn was still there. It was just this side on top of that little hill, and it was log, but it was not in good condition, and so it was torn down the rest of the way. Of course, the house is livable, but very primitively. It's been lived in most of the time throughout its life.
Is electricity on or off?
Oh, yes.
Can we
yes.
turn the lights on? Just is there an easy way to lighten it up, look a little better on the camera? Yep.
Yeah, turn this one on.
So what do you remember the kitchen being? There must have been a wood cook stove in here. Is that what your grandmother cooked on?
Yes, yeah, and of course the chimney's back there, and it's like a double chimney of some sort when I had it cleaned out. But yeah, she had a cook stove there, big table here. Not a lot of cabinets or anything, you know.
Was there running water in here?
Oh, yes. The water came from a spring. There's a spring house just over the hill that's all covered over with brush right now, but the water came from that spring house. Now, and I'm assuming that it changed its path at some point in time because my brother had a well dug, but it's sulfur water. You can turn the spigot on there and you'll smell it in just a minute.
Smell the eggs quick.
Yeah, yeah.
Old lunchbox in there.
Yeah, we believe that that cabinet is probably original. Of course, you know, a lot of the old homes had the door at each end of the hallway for the
Breeze.
for
Yep.
the breeze.
And they all had the transoms, which that probably would open at one point, I would bet. That is a pretty design wide.
This was my grandparents' bedroom, and yeah, it's not nice in here.
Yeah.
My brother was
Did he put this divider
redoing
in?
it. Yeah.
Oh, and
yes,
put the
it's just
indoor
one big
plumbing.
room and put the. Well, we had plumbing, but it's through the summer kitchen and back that way. So he just put this in
Gotcha. Roughed it in.
to make it a little more convenient.
Oh, there's some old clothes.
Yeah, those were things I found too.
Wow.
And this cabinet, Thomas Hickman Jarrett lived here late 1800s or early 1900s. And he was sheriff in Greenbrier County. He served like 3 terms as a delegate in the legislature, so he was a very prominent person in Greenbrier County. And we feel possibly that he did some updating. This bullseye trim is not an 1840s thing.
Nope.
So we think that possibly he updated some things. Of course, they didn't really have closets in 1840 either.
It's all wardrobes.
Yes.
All wardrobes.
And I love the staircase.
Ooh, that's pretty.
And feel how good and sturdy and solid it feels.
Wow. Even after all these years, it's
After all
rock
these years.
steady.
Yes. But then look how low the railing is.
Yep. People were different heights. It is. Yeah, that's a long ways from code today.
Oh, yes, for sure. And there's a pretty view out any window that you look at, look out in this house.
And so this is horsehair plaster on
Horsehair
top of
plaster.
the beadboard.
Yeah, here's a little piece you can check out. And you can, if you hold it just right, you can see the little
can see
hair
some-
sticking out.
I wonder if one of those is travelers. That'd be worth something. It's horsehair in there. They used it with the plaster to make it thicker.
And they call it horsehair, but it could have been human hair or
Yeah,
whatever
any hair they
kind of
could
hair.
get.
Yeah.
It was a binding agent.
And of course, you saw downstairs in the parlor the nice wood and all there. And the places that didn't need to be as nice, they could use pine or cheaper wood. But then they painted, it's grain painted.
That was a big fad in the 1800s to take cheap woods and make them look exotic. I've read about that. It came over from France.
Really?
Yep, came over from France. And so all that grain you see is painted on there.
These doors.
And a lot of
panels
times if
and
you
so
look on the
forth.
back side of it, you don't, this one's painted, it covers it,
Painted,
but you
yeah.
see a totally different grain. But yeah, there was people that specialized in doing that, would go around to these old, travel through the country, kind of like, you know, salesmen, and would offer that as a service.
Yeah, it's a fancy mahogany.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's painted too.
When were these heaters? Now these, what kind of heaters are these? Are they?
These are wood.
Wood
Well,
heaters.
this says Wonder Coal, so it's probably either one, but we always used wood.
The top slides over, I bet.
When I was a kid, we had kind of like curtains, had fabric fastened to that. That made the little table, but then you could open that up to get to the drawers.
Okay. Oh, that's cute.
Beautiful views. And there's
I
that
don't-
green color again.
Yes. And why did they wallpaper the ceiling?
I didn't even notice that.
Wow.
And then they whitewashed over that. Because there's the, I I wonder if that used to be on the walls too.
Probably, but I don't really know.
If the right people got this, I mean, it has so much potential.
It could be nice, couldn't it?
Just,
Gosh, these posts are so beautiful. I mean, they're like brand new. How tight they are
Yes.
and strong.
But think how long they've been here. This room and the room downstairs were added at a different time. I don't know exactly when, but I can show you outside. Lived here. That's the contact paper on the house. They just lived in this part of the house and not in the other part. And this was the bathroom that we used when my grandparents were living here. And I'm going to clean this tub up. I just haven't gotten it done yet.
Oh, wow.
Look how narrow that is.
Gosh.
oh,
Old clawfoot tub. Wow. So when do you think indoor plumbing was put in the house?
I have no clue. I'm assuming it was like that when my grandparents bought it, but I don't really know. And another question, if you notice there's an exterior door here, that other little room on the other side of the wall had an exterior door. Why did the rooms have exterior doors? Was it for servants? Was it used as overflow from the resort? We don't know.
Interesting, that is, yeah, to have side doors.
My dad always said he would tear this, but there's something up here that is unique too.
Oh, a curved wall.
We don't really know why that's that way either.
That
Someone
is
said
unusual.
Maybe somebody was superstitious and didn't want somebody hiding around the corner. My thought, that teeny little room right there, we wonder if it was used as overflow from the resort. Ladies' trunks could have been stored in that room. That would make it a lot easier to maneuver
That's an interesting.
with the curved
yes.
wall. I don't know.
And it's the only curved wall in the house.
Yes.
Wow. I'm gonna peek in here.
And you see the baseboard is curved around it. Went out a different door, but
Nope.
this part is a little rickety. I was gonna have it replaced at one point and then didn't because I wasn't sure about keeping this part, whether I could afford to fix it or not, so.
Gotcha.
But use the rail and be careful there, and I'll show you those things that I was telling you about. You see, well, you can see by this, that when I was a kid looked like brick. It's tin that was supposed to look like brick. Now it's
Oh,
just
hear the hollow sound.
now it's just rusty tin. Be careful on these steps.
Okay. What do you think this random piece of sandstone was out here?
This was the smokehouse was right here, and the woodshed was right there. So this was just a rock that to go into the smokehouse. And then there's like boards, and then this tin.
Surprised it's
top
not a
of
bee's
that.
nest.
You can see it right here too.
So you got the
Of course,
brick,
there's some bricks missing there.
tin. A lot of times this tin was used as a fire to prevent fires.
My question is, if they had brick, why did they cover it over? And see, it was built that way because look at the foundation.
You're right.
And then the two parts of the house come together flush, you know, so
They had brick.
I don't,
They covered it with tin. If anybody knows why, please let us know. Huh. Somebody must have, that green paint must have been on sale at the hardware store. They got a good price on it.
everything's green.
Yeah, I bet one time when this was farm, I bet this was just all kept up. All the brush was cut
Yes.
down. It was just,
Well, you know, they brought in the multiflora rose and autumn olives and stuff, and they have just taken the place, and you just can't keep up with it.
yeah.
This was my grandmother and grandfather's garden was right here.
They did a good job matching the brick.
They did, didn't they?
Because the brick looks original, but you're right, it doesn't match the way it's built doesn't match the lines of the other one. Huh, and that tin is all the way up there too, isn't it? So they tin this whole, wrap this whole summer kitchen in tin. Gosh, don't you wish we could go back in time and ask them?
Oh, yes. I mean, there's things that I wish I'd have asked my dad before he was gone.
What is the number one mystery about this house that you wish you could solve?
Oh my, I don't even know.
There's so many. But the tin has to rank up there.
My brother had a honeybee issue at one point in time to where the honey ended up running down the walls. And I can't remember which room it was, but I've wondered if that was, if these bricks are messed up because of that, but I don't really know. And then you see this metal piece up here that looks kind of like an S. We think that there are rods that go through all the way through the house. There's some on the other side too. We think that those go all the way through the house, I guess for strength.
I hope you enjoyed that tour of this historic home in Greenbrier, West Virginia. On behalf of everybody at Appalachian Memory Keepers, thank you for supporting our channel, and we'll see you on down the road.